The pressure continues to pile on Greg Norman as another golf legend has now asked him to step down from his leadership role at LIV Golf. This time, however, it's the big man Tiger Woods himself. Surely you wouldn't want to turn his suggestion down, would you? Well, in today's video, we're going to talk about Woods' ultimatum for Norman and how he's almost done playing golf. So keep watching. First off, Woods wants Norman to leave LIV Golf. The feud between the Saudi League and the PGA Tour doesn't really seem to have an end. Not because the solution isn't out there, but because both parties are just not willing to sit down and have a chat. Of course, we've heard Norman say that he's ready to talk it out with Jay Monahan over a cup of coffee. Does anyone actually believe that, though? Especially with the antitrust lawsuit and everything else that he's been saying? Probably not. And that's why we're now starting to see this quote-unquote mutiny against him from the golfing world. Obviously, no one in the breakaway league is gonna speak up against the Aussie, because at the end of the day, he's still the boss man. Not to mention, LIV wouldn't have been successful without him. The actual complaints here are coming from the rival camp, so perhaps he shouldn't pay much heed to them at all. Then again, this is the Tiger Woods we're talking about here, one of the greatest golfers ever. Sure, he's currently spearheading the tour into its new era. Still, he's not the type of guy to ask someone to leave like that. So if he's saying that Norman needs to step down from LIV Golf for peace to prevail within the sport, then he's gotta have a point, right? Well, as it turns out, not really. In fact, if anything, the 15-time major winner was just echoing the things that his counterpart, Rory McIlroy, has already said. Up next, Woods lays down the conditions for golf peace. Speaking ahead of the Hero World Challenge that he hosts in the Bahamas, the 46-year-old said,
"Well, I see that there's an opportunity out there if both organizations put a stay on their litigation.
That if LIV Golf and the PGA Tour want to coexist, then they'll have to take some drastic measures with their leadership." Of course, he didn't go into any details about the tour's leadership because at the end of the day, that's his side. So he focused on the Saudi League instead, saying that with the circuit's current leadership, it's pretty much impossible for anyone to sit down and come to a solution. More specifically, Woods had an issue with Greg Norman, who, according to him, has been an outlet for a lot of hate against the tour. And for him, the sheer animosity that the Australians got against the association just cannot be ignored. Hence, as long as he's there, there's no way anyone could end this eternal golf feud. Woods then acknowledged the fact that he's not the first one to say this, and said he agrees with everything that Rory McIlroy has said as well. Now, if you didn't already know, the Irishman also went into detail about Norman's position a few weeks ago, and according to him, while LIV should give the 67-year-old his flowers for what he's done for them, it's about time he stepped aside and let the real adults do the talking. For him, the LIV chief is just way too immature to have any serious discussion. Not to mention, he still continues to throw shade at the tour for trying to compete. What's more, Woods weighs in on the ongoing legal issues. Interestingly, Greg Norman wasn't the only thing that the 15-time major winner talked about. In fact, according to him, even getting rid of the Aussie may not be enough for the two entities to coexist. Why? Well, for him, the legal problems between LIV Golf and the PGA Tour are perhaps the biggest point of contention when it comes to finding any sort of middle ground. According to him, there's obviously an opportunity out there if both organizations decide to put a stay on their litigation. So LIV backs down from its antitrust lawsuit and the tour stops accusing the Saudi League of destroying the traditional golfing hierarchy. That's the issue, though. All of it seems so simple, and yet no one's ready to actually back down and talk things out. That's why Woods believes that as long as the lawsuits are still up, there's no willingness to negotiate, because why would you talk to someone who's trying to stab you in the back? That being said, if they do find a way to sort that issue out, then it's basically a straight path towards coexistence. Now, here's the fascinating bit. Apparently, the executives from the PGA Tour, the DP World Tour, and at least 3 of the majors are supposed to meet in December at The Match. Their agenda? How to tackle the ongoing threat posed by LIV Golf. Oh, and of course, Woods and McIlroy will be in attendance too, meaning that the 46-year-old does have some control over the situation. So perhaps he should suggest these solutions in that meeting as well. Not to mention, Norman's being pressured to leave by neutrals. Alright, so it's understandable that Rory McIlroy and Tiger Woods would want Norman to step down from his position. After all, he has alienated himself from much of the tour's leadership, so they don't want him there anymore. It makes perfect sense. What's interesting, however, is the fact that even those who have been super fond of Norman in the past are now saying that it's time for him to leave. For instance, another Australian golfing legend, Roger Davis, said that while he respects the LIV commissioner for everything that he's done for the country and the game overall, he has now turned into your average businessman. Hence, promoting the sport is no longer his main objective, and instead, he has sort of lost his way in this pursuit to make more money. Not to mention, Norman has genuinely antagonized a lot of people in positions of power within the game.
Good evening, everybody. And I thank you for being here to kick off the first of many LIV Golf events.
So, even if he is the changed man that he claims to be now, they won't want to associate with him anymore. Having said that, it's not simple for LIV Golf to get rid of the Australian either, because at the end of the day, he is the reason why they're so popular in the first place. Without him, they wouldn't have been able to recruit top talents like Cameron Smith and Dustin Johnson. Besides, the Saudi League probably doesn't even need any external help anymore, as it prepares to kick its league format into full gear in 2023. Now, for Woods' admission that he's almost done playing golf, the sheer amount of influence that Tiger Woods has had on the game over his long career just cannot be undermined. And even though he's not the best player in the world that he once was, he continues to help golf in other ways, like switching up the PGA Tour's formula with elevated events. Honestly, it wouldn't be a stretch to say that he's up there with Jack Nicklaus as an immortal figure within the sport, one we'll think about for centuries to come. Perhaps that's why the idea of his retirement seems so bizarre. But looks like golf is heading towards its emotional Roger Federer moment after all, because according to Woods, his playing days are almost done. Obviously, we've got to remember, the legend never fully recovered from the injuries that he suffered in that horrific car crash in 2021. Plus, with the number of surgeries he's had over the past decade or so, his body was bound to break down. For him, this is the beginning of the end, as he can now feel his body not keeping up with his mind anymore. In fact, he went as far to say that he doesn't want to play in a dozen events anymore, and his goal is just to compete in the major championships. After all, that's literally all that he can physically do at this point in his career. Finally, Tiger Woods is still committed to golf in the long run. It's not so much that he can't hit shots that he wants anymore. In fact, according to the 46-year-old, he can pretty much hit the golf ball in any way that he wants. It's just that he doesn't have the energy in him to walk anymore. Of course, he still loves playing and competing. Not to mention, he did play 3 majors this year, something that even he wasn't expecting to do. Still, for him, it's getting increasingly harder to keep up with the demands of the game. Having said that, he's not done with the game of golf by a long shot, as he still intends to continue with his leadership role long after retirement. For him, there's so much room for the game to grow. Plus, with LIV's involvement, the competition's as strong as it's ever been. So he believes that he's got the chops to lead the PGA Tour through a period of turmoil and turn it into a product that people can really think fondly about for years to come. Besides, we want the big guy to stick around as well. And honestly, if he does intend to be the all-father for the sport, then we're sure everyone's going to be super on board with it. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think Norman should step down from LIV Golf? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.